Our exit poll is suggesting that there will be a Conservative majority of 86.
In the general election, the Conservatives won a huge majority. Boris Johnson helped the Tories to the biggest victory they've had since Margaret Thatcher in 1987. To get there, they pushed Labour back in their traditional heartlands. They broke through the red wall to win seats in the North and the Midlands that they'd never held before. It was a humiliation for Labour and for Jeremy Corbyn, who suffered their worst defeat since 1935.
I will not lead the party in any future general election.
This was an election of two stories. The first was the success of Boris Johnson as a Conservative politician who could attract the support of people who had never voted Conservative before. He did this by creating a personality that was distinctly separate from the previous 9 years of Conservative government, and with a small manifesto with a few big promises.
50,000 more nurses, 50 million more GP surgery appointments, 20,000 more police officers, points-based Australian-style system. Get Brexit done! Get Brexit done! Get Brexit done! Corbyn neutral by Christmas.
The other story is the failure of Jeremy Corbyn and Labour, who appeared out of touch with their traditional voter. Some key issues that have been spoken about since the election are their Brexit policy and the unpopularity of Jeremy Corbyn.
Can someone tell me who Jeremy Corbyn is, the next Prime Minister?
And of course there were problems. As I spoke about in another video, their Brexit policy gave the impression that they weren't going to respect the result of the referendum. Why would Labour's Leave voters ever support that?
Do you know what the Labour Party's position on Brexit is?
And Jeremy Corbyn was the most unpopular leader in modern history. He thought that he could replicate the success of the 2017 election, where he had quite a surprising result against Theresa May. But at that point, he was a relatively unknown figure. Now, he dealt with years of negative attacks from the press, and he wasn't very good at disputing them.
To apologise to the British Jewish community for what's happened.
What I'll say is this. I am determined
no apology.
Against the abuse they receive on the streets, on the trains, or in any
no apology for how you've handled
other
this.
form of life.
Try one more time.
No, hang
apology.
on a minute, Andrew.
Jeremy Corbyn just had too many skeletons in his closet, and his policy on Brexit, his failure to address anti-Semitism within the Labour Party, and an inability to work the media all contributed to his failure. But he still said that he won the argument.
Well, I'd give him 10 out of 10.
So the contest to replace him is well underway, and there's 4 candidates still in the race. That's Keir Starmer, Emily Thornberry, Lisa Nandy and Rebecca Long-Bailey. Jess Phillips was in it, but she's already pulled out because she didn't think she could attract the full support of all the members.
The Labour Party needs to radically change.
We've got a long way to go before the final result is announced, but regardless of who wins, Labour has some serious questions they're going to need to answer if they ever want to be back in power.
Have you at any point this morning looked in the mirror and asked yourself this question: could the problem actually be me?
No.
One argument that keeps popping up, particularly on the left of the party, is the idea that Jeremy Corbyn lost because the media continually attacked him and ruined his character. The right-wing media in particular had it out for Jeremy Corbyn. But that is the environment that every Labour leader has to operate within. As a Labour leader, you have to be able to effectively respond to attacks.
Just say sorry.
No, wait a minute. I and our party.
No, just say sorry.
Come on, can I say something?
Well,
our party.
I want you to say sorry.
And our party and me.
Yeah.
Do not accept anti-Semitism in any form.
So are you sorry for anything that's happened?
Obviously, I'm very sorry.
So you can complain all you want that the media is against you, but that's not going to change for the next Labour leader. They're going to have to find an effective way to respond to attacks.
Wouldn't it be an idea to step aside and allow someone else to lead Labour?
You're obsessed with this question, if I may say so. Utterly obsessed with it.
Isn't it an important obsession to have a strong opposition in Britain? And people are asking whether you can provide that.
If you bothered to report what we were doing.
The other question Labour are going to have to answer is how they're going to win back the seats in England that have gone to the Conservatives and the seats in Scotland that have gone to the SNP. Without them, they have no path back to power. It's not enough just to win the big cities. To win again, they'll need a combination of an exceptional manifesto with a leader with a personality that can actually connect with people.
Why do I have to tell people why I want to be president? I mean, I don't want to hear about their jobs.
And on that manifesto, Corbyn supporters have pointed out that the policies in it were popular, and they're right. The problem is nobody believed it was deliverable when there were so many policies every single day. One day it would be the NHS, the next it would be their Brexit policy, the next there'd be a huge programme of nationalisation, then they wanted to give everyone the internet for free for some reason. Nobody believed that it could all be delivered.
So I thought I'd take just 60 seconds to run through as many of the policies as I can and have a councillor in every school to take railways into public ownership. OK, my time's up, but that's only 60 seconds worth.
So those policies might have worked if they'd had a leader who could inspire the country to believe in the change that they were promising. The issue is, Labour has a problem doing that. If you look at the elections for the past 100 years, you'll see that there's been 28 of them. Labour have only won 8. Of course, there are hugely complex reasons for each election victory, but as a general rule, Labour tends to win when the country is calling out for big, dramatic change, such as in 1945 when Clement Attlee won and later went on to form the NHS. And that's made easier when they have a charismatic leader who can inspire the public, such as Tony Blair, who for all his faults and mistakes won more elections than Gordon Brown, Ed Miliband and Jeremy Corbyn.
Utterly incapable of being a credible government.
So Labour need a leader who can inspire the country to believe that change needs to happen. That's a big difference to the Conservatives, who can get away with small manifestos that aren't going to change the country much, or boring leaders like Theresa May or John Major, because voters generally trust them to steady the ship and keep the economy going.
I've used to run through the fields of wheat. Nobody's ever perfectly behaved, are they?
But as the elections of Margaret Thatcher and Boris Johnson have shown, personality outshines everything in politics. A charismatic leader who's liked is able to push through huge, sweeping changes to the country regardless of what party they belong to. That's where Boris Johnson got it so right. He played on his personality throughout all of the campaign, and now he has a huge majority to get Brexit done and push through the biggest constitutional change this country has seen for decades.
Good luck with your preposterous ideas. Thank you very much.
Labour has a huge challenge ahead of them if they ever want to get back into government. They'll need to win almost 130 seats if they ever want a majority again. And choosing the right leader for that is going to be crucial.